Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks. Welcome to Tone Talks.
How's everybody doing today? This is Attorney Antonio Moore coming to you from Tone Talks, here to have a hard discussion, a necessary discussion that asks the question, how are you paying the over $250,000 that's required at its bare minimum to raise a child in America? Or are you paying it all? Or are you raising a child? Or are you just letting them live off of whatever you got left over? I need to know what everybody's doing, because I know that the numbers are coming out and we're not getting the truth. We got a lot of people in here. Thank you so much for Lancer for donating. Thank you for ICPI3 for donating. We got people in here about to laugh and have a good time, but we'll see how that feels towards the end. We got mothers, we got fathers in here. NICU grad, shout out to you. So NICU kicked it off right off the bat. Tone, I just got done raising my kids this year. I don't know how people doing it with inflation. And my response to her was just to say, respectfully, the transition is where the costs really kick up. She's absolutely right. The cost has risen exponentially. But we are in a new America where you don't get done raising your kids. And your parents ain't done raising you. You 30, you 40 years old. You out here, inflation ain't just inflation. It's inheritance. In terms of prices, it now costs $300,000 to raise a child. A middle income family might spend more than $18,000 a year on average as inflation hits food, housing, haircuts, sports. Brookings Analysis finds $300,000 to raise a child. This is a Wall Street Journal article. My question today is, how are you paying that? I want to know from people like NICU grad, what's the plan here? What are we trying to make here? What is the end result? What are we in the middle of? What are the ingredients? Because maybe somebody else don't have your ingredients and you can help them out. Or maybe we all don't have no ingredients and we ain't been telling the truth. So it was $240,000 5 years ago. New report says raising a kid costs almost $240,000. But the amount is up, according to Wall Street Journal. The figure is roughly $80,000 more than the estimated USDA release estimate that USDA released in 2017, when it calculated the average child rearing cost for a middle income married couple with a child born in the same year. So we talking about one child. We're not talking about 2, 3. We talking about one child. And so you got to stack it. 300, 600, 900. It now costs $300,000 to raise a child. Now, I put this grandfather in there on purpose, and we're going to get to that, because it's my belief that the inflation a lot of it is inheritance and transfers. It is the supplements that you need to actually be here and to have the life that many of you guys already picked up, but don't have the supplements for. Can we talk today? We're going to get into this discussion. It's going to be a productive one. We ain't had an educational economics discussion in a while, and it's about that time. Annual cost to raise a small child increased by 19.3% nationwide. I put this out, I think, back in 2021, and what I said is ADOS, American Descendants of Slavery, Black America, doesn't really get what I am saying with the economics above. It was a whole series of tweets, but I pulled this one out. These U.S. prices for homes, college, or even internet are presumptive of massive parental wealth transfers or being able to remit U.S. wages into developing countries for retirement or savings. So let's deal with the first part. Are your parents helping with daycare? They got the retirement. Are your parents giving you substantial transfers to offset all of this inflation? Are your parents leaving you their house? Or are you out here free for all competing against people who actually have those things? We all got to answer those questions. But some of y'all in the middle where you need to answer it today. Actually, you needed to answer it a year ago, 5 years ago. but you definitely need to answer it today. Now, the second part is you also are competing against people who send money into Mexico, into Nigeria, into Jamaica, and then expand that money when it gets there. And then we're all considered minorities or black, and none of that makes any sense. And you don't even know that's going on because you don't know about remittances. You don't really understand that part. But the bulk of the show is going to deal with the first part. Come on. It's going to deal with the economics of a child, a single child, costing $300,000. 310-388-3499 if you want to call in and give your testimony. Subscribe, share. Let's get right into this discussion and get through some of these charts. So to contextualize that 300,000, because some of you guys will say that's not a lot of money, or many of you will say, I don't understand that money, but you got to figure it out. What I will tell you is that according to Lending Tree analysis of the U.S. Census Bureau 2022 population survey, the median income for Black households was $48,200. Households. That might be 2 or 3 incomes. Households. So what does that mean in numbers? We got to have a baseline so we can have the discussion. So the middle Black family of multiple incomes altogether are bringing in about $1,600 every 2 weeks. That's before we pay rent or before we pay food, but it's also before we pay medical and dental. So if you take that out of there, we're talking about 2 to 3 people. We're going to say 3. We're going to say 2 parents and a child. We're going to keep them parents together for the sake of this conversation. 2 parents and a child. Well, we're paying medical for 3 people. So we're down to about like $1,200 every 2 weeks. Times 2, $2,400. And again, it is $300,000 to raise a child. Can we talk? Can we get to it? Can we have a numbers conversation? For a lot of people, this might be a hard one because I'm not having a conversation about Jay-Z or about Usher at the Super Bowl or about Monique with Shannon. I'm having a conversation about you and the numbers you use to make your household make sense. I want to know, how do you do it? Well, this is how our contemporaries, especially if you went to college, if you went to UCLA, if you went to Stanford, if you went to Harvard, as the cost of living skyrockets, nearly 1 in 3 adults, not college educated, adults. So when you talk about college, it's pretty much probably every college educated adult rely on their parents for financial support. So when we come back, and I didn't mean this to be critical, but I meant it to be honest when she says, I just got done raising my kids this year. We are in the middle of a transition where you don't get done. You get a little closer. You get a little more near to the next project. It is a whole transition in how America does things. But you don't have to take my word for it because we don't know about these magazines like 50 Plus Magazine. In the chat, how many people have heard about 50 Plus Magazine? How many of y'all parents subscribe to 50 Plus Magazine? Them aren't our parents. But what it says is telling. They got an article in there, honey, should we give the kids the house? Not do we leave it to them in the will? Not should we refi the house and go on vacation? Honey, should we give the kids the house literally while we're alive? Because they can't buy houses. They both, and they need it because of that's what is required. Can I talk today? Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from? Hey, what's your name? Where are you calling from?
Yes, Jennifer from Tampa.
Give me your take on it.
Yeah, so are you saying that it's $300,000 a year to raise one kid? Is that a year?
No, that's over the course of their from 0 to 18. But that's bare bones. There's no enrichment. There's no college. It's $300,000
Right.
over the
So,
course of it.
I mean, this is so believable, right? And I'm kind of in awe because, yeah. So I'm a single parent, and I'm living off loans. Like every time, and I've made well over, I'd say 50 to 60,000. I'm making over that every year, and I'm still living off loans, and I have one child. So it's always like robbing Peter to pay Paul, and then it's just a cycle that you never get out of. And then you mentioned the parents too, like their help. So none of my family helps me, and even if they do, again, it's like a loan. Like I have to pay it back. So I'm sure I'm not the only one, but I'm calling in just because I'm in awe and just because it's so real for me, right? Like this is our life. The people, I only have one. I can only imagine what people go through with multiple children. Hopefully they're married, but the ones that are not, I can't even imagine. I actually cannot imagine how they raise the children in this economy.
No, I definitely appreciate you calling in and giving your testimony. What I will say to you is 1 in 3 adults relying on their parents. If you're college educated, everybody is. So if your parents aren't doing that for you, they have failed in the duties of today's America. And I don't know how everybody resolves that on Thanksgiving, but I know that a lot of Thanksgiving are far too happy if you taking on loans. That's just my feeling of it. Everybody got to deal with it. And I definitely know too many of us are giving money to grandma and to mama, and that's not the way it go. Money go down. This is America 2024. But thank you so much for calling. Go ahead, give me your take on it. Give me your lesson.
Yeah, really quick too. And it's not just me. Like I talk with my friends and in my network, and it's still the same thing. Like the parents or the family, grandma, whoever, they always want to say, "Oh, I'm helping you. I'm helping you." But it's like, are you really? You're just a loan. You're like a bank. It's not really helping you. But okay.
Yeah, I get it. I know it's hard enough to give your testimony. What I will say is that what we're seeing is that the cost is skyrocketing, but what people are not breaking down is a big chunk of that is transfers. So you can't transfer a loan to me and think that you done made my life better or easier. What I also say that they're doing is they're pushing these families back together. $60,000 is not enough. It's not 1998 no more. I know that what we're looking at is, does being together even matter if you are in a relationship with someone who also makes, you make 60 and they make 28? Choosing mates is important. More important than ever. Whew, we having this discussion, it's going to be a heavy one. How much should you save for your child's college education? So we dealing with people only talking, we dealing with just scholarships, and then we probably don't have no health savings account, no IRA account, no life insurance. So we can't even get to how much you should save for college. But they got the accounts like the 529 for you and your grandparents for a reason. For you and your parents and the child's grandparents, I should say, for a reason. But we're not talking about it socially, and we're not giving nobody no obligation while we wave to them as they go to Vegas to play the slots. Using the example above, if your child is now 5 years old, you'll start paying for college in 13 years. The clock is ticking. After plugging today's total annual net price into college cost calculator, you'll find that 4 years of in-state public college will cost about $158,000. I'll tell you, as somebody who went to the top public institution in the nation, you have basically set your child up to be locked out of America if you don't give them any wealth when they transition out of your home into college. See, I lived in a different world where my mama asked for some of my financial aid. I live in a world where I don't even know what most people even talking about, but I know this. in 2024, if your kid gets into UCLA or Michigan and you don't have no money for them, you have set them up to have one of the hardest lives in the nation among their peers. Because the prices presume that you did your work, and you didn't. In Sallie Mae's 2018 How America Saves for College survey, parents predicted savings would cover 30% of the child's college costs on average. If you plan for savings to pay for 30% of your child's four-year college attendance, in our example from above, that would be about $47,520 each kid. That's another thing people don't do. They don't want to talk about each kid. They got a special one. That would mean saving $305 per month for the next 13 years if you keep the money in a non-interest-bearing account, which we wouldn't recommend. A 529 plan, for instance, is a tax-advantaged education investment account that individual states offer. Some states give residents a tax break for using their home account. There's all these things going on, and we don't know. And we think we got these kids, and it's $300,000 a kid. We ain't doing no work. Caller, what's your name? Where you call from?
I'm Michael D. I'm calling from out of Selma, North Carolina.
All right, give me your take.
Yeah, you're right. You're going to have to get it before your kids all the way to adulthood. Don't stop at 18. I have 3 kids. My oldest right now, I'm having to give her a house. Because the housing now, to get a regular single family house, it's like $500,000 out here in the Raleigh-Durham area.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you went out and purchased houses when they were dirt cheap and held on to them, I don't know how they're gonna apply. How they're gonna get it.
So let me say something. Let me say something to what you're saying. I'm gonna say something I've never said to you, any of you guys. Children are a projection. Let me say it different. Children and their stability are a projection of your planning ability and your lineage. So it is a picture of your broken lineage and how much you didn't plan, they outcome. Plus equal. Lineage plus planning equal sign. Then you got people who don't understand what things cost. Because we lived in a world where you could make it all up with a cheap house. Well, there ain't no more cheap houses in Atlanta. My cousin do real estate. She talked to me about it. Look, caller, I'm going to keep going. I appreciate your testimony. Please keep calling in with all of your testimonies. Thank you so much. So I'm looking at this thing. I'm having a discussion about the cost. And they said it's above 300 now. But back in 2022, it was about 300. And they did this breakdown so you can see it. Housing, $85,000. Food, $52,000 over the course of 0 to 17 or 18. Child care and education, $46,000. So what happens if you can take $15,000 or $20,000 off of that? Not to mention a parent helps and gives you 15 or 20 towards it and takes that off the number. I'm talking about your grandparent of the child, your parent. Transportation, $43,000. Healthcare, $26,000. See, that's that number that they didn't include when they was breaking this down and telling you that the middle family in America, black family, brings home $1,600, but they still ain't took out the medical. Miscellaneous, $20,000. Clothing, $17,000. Some of y'all got the big money clothes for your kids. Woo, them costs. Look at them costs. Look how they look. Let me take another caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, so good afternoon. My name is Smith. I'm calling in from Dallas, Texas.
All right, give me a take on it.
Hello? My take is this one, right? The fact that people are surprised by this, right, to me is a shame, right? In this America, I see too many of like my black coworkers, for example, not having the honest conversations with their white counterparts about saying, how are you able to afford this house or this thing? We all have the same job. No one wants to have it because what I'm seeing is that no one
oh, well, you know, you're 18, you're on your own. And I'm like, what are they talking about? In this America right now, 18 is not the age where one should be on
No,
their own.
it isn't. It isn't. It isn't. And also, I think that when I said planning, I want to be clear. And in no way am I saying that I wish no one had children that were here. But if the middle black family, if it costs $300,000 to raise a child, and the middle black family only makes 48, there's a severe lack of understanding how reparations was required for you to have children and properly, bare bones, be able to afford them. I don't think you guys really understood that you needed it, particularly given the stories, as the young woman stated earlier, where you're getting no transfers, but you still did it, and no one's having a discussion as if this is a game. Tell me one last thing before I can keep going on this show. Let me ask you this. What do you think about this article? You said white counterparts. What do you think about this magazine? Because I don't see us having this magazine. Honey, should we give the kids the house? Have you seen that magazine before?
I have seen that magazine before, and you actually, it's funny you said this because my black counterparts and I have discussions about this. Sometimes Martin Wash even does these articles on should I give my kids the house and stuff like that. And people just look at it and they think these are false stories. But I'm like, this is how average white Americans live in. And like I tell people, in order for people to understand the reparations argument, they have to understand that they are African Americans and what does that mean. The problem for me, what I think, right, is that when you have many cities like New York and Dallas and these places, many don't know that they are American descendants of slaves, and that reparation is necessary in order for you to accomplish that dream for your child. Your child most likely is not going to be a business owner because to start it.
Oh, we're going to get into that. We're going to get into that because the whole answer now, well, you hear Les was like, well, my kid won't go to college. They just going to go to trades. We're going to talk about them trades toward the end of the show. Some of y'all don't got a plan, and you've used all kind of loopholes, scapegoat answers to not deal with not having a plan. Then we get to 19 and they not really like altogether. The child is not a formed adult. And then you start blaming the child. And it's like, we've been seeing this. They couldn't count their Halloween candy right. Now, again, I'm not here for a respectability argument, but the question begs, if you get a son that gets to UCLA and you don't have no money for them, when we going to say it like it is, that you failed them? And I don't know if everybody's ready to have that conversation. I'm gonna let you go because I got a couple more callers. Caller, I don't want to.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you. You always support. Look, man, I want to talk. I want to talk because ain't nobody saying it. Ain't nobody calling people to the floor. I'm talking for the baby that's looking across the table with the cookie crumbs on it, asking the question. Because the number is not even 310, it's 330. Key takeaway, according to USDA data and inflation statistics from the BLS, raising a child in 2023, another year, could cost an average of $331,933 from the time a child is born to age 18. It now costs, and this is the year before 2023, 2022, $310,000 to raise a child. Something has to give. Let me take another caller before I get going because the queue is full. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, man, I'm calling out of Philly, man. How you feeling today, son?
I'm all right. I know you got the baby in the background. You always got the babies in the background. Go ahead.
Oh, I just dropped off at Girl Scout. Just dropped off.
Go ahead. Give me a take on it.
All right, so let's say 300,000, right?
Yeah.
That's about 17,000 a year, right?
One kid. No enrichment. No Girl Scout. That's no Girl Scout.
There's no Girl Scout. Now, this is the thing. That might be a number that's appropriate if you live in a school district that is able to provide those enrichment opportunities, right? Now, if you live in a school district that provides those opportunities, most likely it's not going to be an Adolph community.
And also, after school choice, more often than not, you got to pay. Go ahead. Charter schools got to pay.
Well, that's my point. So
So that number doesn't even apply to the majority of adults in this country. That number is for people that have transfers. That number is for people that have the ability to live in communities where they have adequate school districts, where they have adequate programs that are low cost, where they can enrich their child. That's not even a realistic number when you have to pay tuition in order to get a proper education for your child. In a lot of ADOS communities, you have to pay, you cannot send your child to a school in that public school district and get an adequate education.
Now comes the chicken and egg part of it. A lot of times you can't send them to the public school because you didn't fix the school. So everybody pulled their kid out the school. Let me say it. Everybody, I went to Dorsey and met the principal. It was a black man. Dorsey High School, the last black high school. I went down there and met the principal about 9 years ago. Cool dude. He basically told me Dorsey was a school with orphans and Latinos. All the blacks that had pulled their kids out of the school and went to charter schools. So what I'm saying is, if you pull your kids out and go to private schools, and then your public school ain't nothing, you ain't demanding the government. You out here not doing no politics. Go ahead, backwards.
Well, the other thing is, again, just to show how unrealistic that number is for people that live in the majority ADOS communities. If you want your child to be protected from the negative consequences of being in the environment, you have to be able to pay for dance class. You have to be able to pay for all those extracurricular activities just to shield them from the negativity within the community. So again, if you don't live in a majority ADOS community, you live in a good community, you don't necessarily have, like, that's $300,000, that's bare bones, because you don't necessarily have to put your child in extracurricular activities.
Plus you get the daycare.
That they shield from negativity.
Plus you get the daycare and everything else. Carl, look, I got to keep going because I got a long show to get to. Thank you so much, man.
Yes, sir.
Look, NICU grad, I appreciate you supporting, but I will say, so why are black people online mad when women say they don't want to have children? I'm not sure about those people, but I will say, or when they have income requirement, are they asking about their parents though? Are they asking about your mama and your daddy? Because that's where the real income requirement is. Ain't no man, ain't no woman should be asking each other. You should be asking your parents, and then you don't want to do that because you don't have the right relationship with them parents. I'm just talking, both of them. It now costs $310,000 to raise a child. Something has to give. If you are going to have children, you have to recognize you have to work harder or consume less in some other area. Noted Isabel Swahil, a senior fellow at Brookings, whose scholarship frequently focuses on economic and social issues surrounding marriage and children, is not a free choice. And the study only includes child rearing costs up to age 17, which means that additional expenses faced by parents who plan to send their children to college are not included in the estimate. If you expect your children to go to college, the $310,000 is just the beginning, let alone if you have multiple children. She added that the rising cost of raising children may be impacting some Americans' decisions about whether to start a family, although declining birth rates are common across developed nations, even in nations with financial support for families. Sawhill's analysis didn't break down the cost of raising a kid by category, but instead applied an estimated inflation rate to the USDA's calculation from 2015. It expected parents would need about $234,000 to raise a child. From 2015 to 2020, Sawhill used an inflation rate of 2.23%, but assumed an inflation rate of 4% for 2021 and subsequent years, reflecting the current period of high inflation and mirroring the average CPI increase from 1980 to 1997, when the nation also faced a period of high prices. One parent said the high rate of inflation is making everything more expensive, from housing to food. Anisha Williams, 37, and a single mother of 6 who lives in Los Angeles, said her rent recently rose to $1,700 a month from $1,600. She's picking up extra side work. Rent went up. Gas is like the kind of shaky. All right, so 6 times 300,000. We just do the math. All right. those dollar figures encompass only what Lending Tree describes as the bare bones required for raising a child, including money for food, housing, childcare, apparel, transportation, and health insurance, as well as the impact of tax benefits such as the child tax credit. They don't include enrichment activities such as sports, after-school classes, and the like Girl Scouts. Again, we're having a discussion. It now costs $300,000 to raise a child, and we're contextualizing this against a lot of questions. Don't nobody want to talk about them parents. You right, I Am Wolf. No, they're not asking them parents. They talking about how much your partner make. That money taxed 30-40%. No, we need them transfers, them 529 plans. We need that daycare. Oh, that's my daddy's retirement. No, that's your retirement. That's why they gave it to him, so he can do the daycare. Oh, he don't want to be around children no more. Well, he don't want to be a granddaddy. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
Hello?
Give me a take on it, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Yeah, Miguel, and I'm from Louisiana.
All right, give me a take on it.
This is my take right here, man. White folks have the money and we don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And can I tell you a story? Can I get 15 seconds to tell you a story?
Oh, go ahead. You got the 15 seconds. Flow open.
Look, 2021, me and my wife, we lived in Metairie, Louisiana. They had a townhouse for sale right next to us, and the guy was renting the one next door. His dad bought it for him for $232,000. Older white man bought it for his son, who was 35-year-old white man, and his girlfriend was a bartender. And the daddy bought it cash, and after he bought it cash, he renovated it. Mm-hmm. And me and my wife, to buy our townhouse, we had to take money out of our 401k to buy this thing. And it's just crazy, man. I just wanted to give you that perspective.
Oh, hey man, I love personal testimonies, because on the ground, so many people don't give the honest truth. They give us half the truth, and the truth don't include the truth, so we end up with a lie. But that's a good truth. Talk about it. Thank you so much. Look, man, we having a conversation today so we can make it real for the baby that can't speak for himself, that's looking across the table, and you ain't saved nothing in that 529. And you talking to everybody about how he gonna be a journalist, he gonna be a lawyer, a doctor, ain't put $1 away because you don't got it. Well, why? He here. You got to have it. What are you doing about that situation? Are we doing some politics? Or what are we doing? Are we just gonna act like scholarships gonna fix it all? $1.1 million cost to raise a child from birth through college. That's back in 2009. Time magazine. And this is how they're doing it. Can I go through this? We've done this a few years ago, but I just want everybody to understand how a budget really looks. Because again, this is a white family that makes $500,000 a year. And you got to contextualize against this truth right here. The median income for Black households was $48,200. All right. So we can take everything that we see and take a whole digit off, 2 digits. That's what we got. How to make $500,000 a year and still feel average. Contribution to 401k, $18,000. Contribution to 401k husband. Oh, sorry, the first one was the wife. Husband, $18,000. Salary after the 401k contribution, $464. Got our taxes, 40%. We only got $278. So they working with $278 after retirement. You see it? So while the Black folks is making about $1,600 every 2 weeks, what Black folks? The middle Black family. We talked about it already. We ain't out here playing. We ain't guessing. $1,600. What? Middle Black family makes $4,800. We're going to put that in a calculator so we can get the number after we take out our FICA and everything. $1,600 before the medical. So while they making probably about like $1,300, but we're going to use the $1,600, these white folks is doing a hard calculation on this $500,000 And then they got child care for 2 children, $42,000. They got food for 4, all 4 of us, including date nights every 2 weeks, $23,000 a year. We got our mortgage, $60,000 a year. We got our home maintenance, $5,000 a year. We got our property taxes on our $1.5 million home, $20,000. We got our property insurance, $2,500. And I will tell you, insurance has risen 20% year over year, the highest increase, I think, since 1976, sometime in the 70s. 3 vacations a year, $18,000. We got our car payments on the 2 cars, the 5 Series and the Land Cruiser, $9,600. We got our gas, $5,000. We got our car insurance, $2,000. We got our life insurance, because we can't have kids without life insurance. Somebody didn't tell everybody the truth. You're supposed to have life insurance because something can happen to you. What the kid's supposed to do? Just go live with who? We didn't plan this at all. I'm talking about the stuff we had in our control. All right. Life insurance, $3 million term. Life insurance, $2,500. Clothes for 4 people. No fancy bags, shoes, or threads. $9,500. Children's lessons. That's the enrichment. Sports, piano, violin, academics. $12,000. Charity, $18,000. Undergrad and graduate student loan debt, because they still got that. We're not paying that off. We're going to pay it off as slow as we can. $32,000. Miscellaneous, $10,000. What's left? $7,300 to play with. Not to mention, we got transfers coming in. Meaning grandma come in for a month and watch the babies. Meaning the transfer of $65,000 from my aunt that we didn't know was going to leave us something, but we done did right in life, so she going to leave us something. Are we talking right about these children? Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from?
North, what's up?
Hey, what's up, North? Give me your take.
So, yeah, I mean, just even looking at the number, 300,000. I mean, of course, nobody wants to talk about the elements that exist around parenting in the ADOS lineage community. Nobody wants to have that conversation. But what is it happening? If somebody wants to have the actual words of conversation that goes along with telling your mother and your father, or telling whichever one is in your life or both is there in your life, that feel a way that you use me as just some sort of individual to prove that you've been adult and you can have children. But we don't want to have that conversation. So I feel a way that you didn't plan for me to go to school. You wanted me to go to school, but you didn't do any planning. And so now I'm stuck in a debt that you may never be able to get out of. And I'm telling you now that these kids, the Gen Z, they're going to social media. I keep seeing stories over and over again of them going to social media and hashing out their issues that they have with parents. You understand what I'm saying? And I don't think it's said enough that these children did not ask y'all to be here. Whatever deficiency that you may have as an adult, wanting to be a parent, nobody asked these children didn't ask to be here. So when they start coming with the questions or they go to social media rather than talking to you, again, they can blame nobody but you. You are the blame for this. That's just what you.
And North, I think a lot of us are going to catch the windfall for not holding boomers accountable. So the thing is, you acted like your daddy's retirement was his. You didn't get no retirement, and then he came around when you was 15, and we just all good because he a nice person now. What we doing?
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
That's the main thing that I wanted to get out. Like before you go have the children, you understand what I'm saying? It's like actually take into account that you call for this. They didn't call for you. You're calling them onto a plan that's going to give them a bunch of problems that you don't have plans for. That you could be in a position where you're just getting this ADOS. You're just now understanding and coming into the understanding of the politics that you should be doing and the real drag down, knockout fight that you should be having.
I agree.
So if you're not in fight, you should be. Let's just be honest. You should stay you having children until you understand the fact that you owe them. They don't owe
Thank you. Whew. I know it's a lot going on. A lot of people want to have this moment. They want to do the financial literacy flashcards. Well, what we gonna do about money though? That go inside what we talking about with them cards. Well, a lot of people then come up with another answer that their kid is not gonna go to college. The 300,000 is before college though, so I don't know how that solves that. But they'll say my kid is just going to trade school, as if trade school is free, and as if we not black in America and all the great parts of trades are dominated by white folks who use that to basically contort lesser than like high school level education into a quality life. That is a very competitive space that black folks didn't do the politics to break into in large part all across this country. So what ends up happening when you really look at trades is what I'm about to show you. This person posted this, and what she said is, I hope all these people pushing, let me get the whole thing. I hope all these people pushing youth into the trades also talk about the destitution. You can find yourself in as soon as your body breaks. A lot of young people make great oil field money, but one hand crushed, finger loss, bad fall leads directly to disability-induced poverty. There's a lot more protection with a union job, but we live in a country with no safety net, coming back to Obama. If you aren't lucky enough to build or inherit and maintain your own safety net at all times, you're screwed. Powerful post for many who don't grasp the other side of intense trade work and use that as the out. How they gonna get through this? My kid gonna have a business and be a tradesman. Somebody responded, I wanted to go to a trade. They responded under my tweet, but I had to cut almost everything off my list due to my asthma. It wasn't as commonplace then as it is now. Also, a lot of trades expose you to dangerous chemicals and situations. Tone, thank you for bringing this to light. As I worked a physical demanding job in college, it is not all that is cracked up by the way people make it. Like always, if you talking, I'm listening. 6 common injuries in the trade industry. Falls, trips, and slips. One of the most frequent causes of injuries in the trade industry is falling, tripping, or slipping. Somebody say you could fall, trip, or slip anytime you want to. I tell you, I'm an attorney, and it's a hard way to fall between walking in the courtroom and getting to the seat in the jury box. Talk about it. Versus being on one of them ships that go back and forth. Can we talk? Or a wet floor while you a plumber. You out here telling your kids to be the 1940s version of Black America in 2024. We didn't come this far to be fucking plunging the toilet. Now, I'm not trying to disrespect the plumber, but what I am trying to say today is that we should be reaching upward because we built this place and we deserve the best of this place. I want to talk because I get a lot of that. Trades is the answer, but they don't know nothing about trades. Fractures and wounds. Another common type of injury is fractures and wounds. These can occur when you're working with heavy machinery, power tools, or sharp objects. Diseases like the man talked about earlier with the chemicals are not always visible. Can we talk? Get the cancer. But they have long-term and severe consequences for your health. The asbestos, while you're cutting the marble, they said, I think it was. Musculoskeletal disorders are injuries or conditions affecting the muscles, nerves, tendons, joints, cartilage, or spinal disc. They are often caused of aggravated or repetitive movements, awkward postures, heavy lifting, or vibration. You ever felt a clipper after about 15 minutes? A clipper for the hair, for these barbers. You ever looked at a Black woman's hands that has to braid hours upon hours? Not just her child's head, but multiple people to make a living. Our bodies are not meant to do that. Not at no repetitive level. The clipper starts to shake. You want to be 58 years old, 63 years old with a shaky hand from a shaky set of clippers? I want to get to it. Industrial deafness is a hearing loss caused by prolonged exposure to loud noise in the workplace. It can affect one or both ears. Mental health is an important aspect of your well-being that can affect your mood, thoughts, feelings, and behaviors. How many black folks remember when me and Yvette talked about places like, I think it was Chicago, where Latinos were cutting out blacks from even being part of the labor force in the trades? I ain't got nothing wrong with that. But what I will tell you is that these are the most dangerous jobs in the world. You got logging worker. Out of 100,000 workers, I don't see lawyer on here though. I don't see doctor. I don't see a lot of things where you sitting in the office either. Logging worker number one. 132 people out of 100,000. That's high. Get hurt or die. Actually, this is just fatal injuries. Aircraft pilot and flight engineers, roofers, getting on top of that roof with that tar, 47 per 100,000. These are high numbers. Iron and steel workers, because this is the numbers of the people that have fatal injuries. There's a whole nother set of a large chunk that get life-altering, broken bones, all kind of stuff. Truck drivers, 24 per 100,000. Farmers and agricultural workers, 17 per 100,000. Fishing workers, 19 per 100,000. Garbage and waste collectors, 30 per 100,000. Miners, 25 per 100,000. Somebody said my nerves bad from working in freezing temperatures. All right. The highest paying trade jobs across America. So we don't even talk about like which ones pay what. We just make it up. We just say, well, that thing is going to be, and we use a title, plumber. Let's see. Plumber is down here, 27. They paying fast food workers $20 an hour in LA, starting in April. So I'm not saying that to say this is wrong, but also you got to go in somebody's toilet in somebody's house. Somebody can say, well, there's other kinds of plumbers. Well, you don't think that this is a plumber. They go in people's houses and they help fix the toilet and the pipes. I'm not talking about constructing the pipes in the house. That's a contractor. I'm not talking about working in construction. I'm talking about a real plumber where you got to get down in the dirt. I'm not dealing in abstract, J. Sim. See, this is where we all hide away. I'm dealing with the numbers on this chart. I didn't know. They make good money. What's good money? I'm talking about the truth of hiding away from how the trades put you right back in another set of issues. And I'm not even now, I'm past the injuries as this woman so eloquently put forward. Body breaks. Let's talk about these numbers. Because what you see is that at the top is this radiation therapist, is this cardiovascular technician, is this respiratory therapist, is this MRI technician. Down here is the auto mechanic, $20.90. Is the carpenter, $22. Now, is there an auto mechanic that gets a job at Mercedes and gets more than that? Yeah, but we're talking about the job itself. Radiation therapist by race. So the top job is radiation therapist, $43.83, based on Google Trend search data over the past 5 years. 70% of that is white. We 6.6% of it. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because you are telling me that trades are the answer, and I'm telling you back, hold on, let's do the numbers. We got another one, which is a cardiovascular technician, which was the second one. Whites are 59% of that. We 10%. Well, what about another MRI technician? What about that one? In 2021, 73.2% of the MRI technicians were white. Blacks were 8%. These are the numbers on trades. So when I hear you talk to me I'm just looking at somebody who might be just avoiding the whole problem by presenting a false answer without telling me which trade or what exact job or who business they're going to work for. Bringing us back to the same thing as the college without resolving. How you going to pay for this, baby? Again, that's the number from Google. But the other thing that's happening right now is credit is tightening. I want everybody to understand credit is tightening. So my fiance is purchasing a new vehicle and she was denied a low rate while having over a 750 credit score. The financial manager, hold on one second, of the branch said last month we had over 47 people defaulted on their loans. So many people bought cars in 2021 and now can't make their payments. I have never seen worse. You can see it right here. What's happening with credit? It's tightening like we haven't seen since the great financial crisis. Bank credit, all banks, percentage change from a year ago. Under zero was only the great financial crisis, going all the way back to 74. It's under zero now. So basically, people with 750 can't get credit. They they got to pay a lot of interest on credit. So all this, I'm gonna start a business, or my kids are gonna start a business. Was it credit they was gonna use, or what are you gonna give them money? I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars when I say money. Or even this trade thing, are they gonna start a trade business? And then you're going to give them a book of business and hundreds of thousands of dollars of money. Or are they just coming in just to be a plumber, which is a respectable job? We all need those. But let's give it real context. But also, more than 50% of white households had a FICO score credit above 700. TransUnion did this a few years ago, compared with only 21% of black households. Let me say what I'm saying. Look at this. 67% of Americans are above a 670 FICO. That's just normal. Only 21% of blacks break 700. Likely mostly the boomers. So not sure if ADOS people are adding. And then a lot of y'all don't want to ask your grandma or your auntie to co-sign because she don't want to co-sign because she don't want to mess her credit up because your mama or your sister, she messed the credit up. That's not on you. You don't get to own somebody else's failure. What I'm saying to you now is they don't even have credit to make this thing up. We go back to the young lady earlier that said she's living on the loans. And then we tie it all the way back to what really is the last catch-all that many of y'all kids are weaving into, that many of you are weaving into, which is the gig economy. I voted down ballot Democrat both elections, 08 and 12. Many of you voted for Obama. But Obama, less than a month and a half into his being sworn in, Uber Eats was founded. Uber was founded. Less than a month of him being sworn in, Uber was founded. The launch of the gig economy, Tom Perez, his labor secretary, not through Congress, not through a court decision like Gamblin did, literally a presidential appointee allowed for the gig economy to use 1099s wrong. Ain't nobody leaving the nest no more. So now, why did I bring it all up? Why leaving the nest is harder the second time around after moving back in with their parents during the pandemic. Some young adults are struggling to adjust to life on their own. I'm not going to talk about all this. I'm going to go back to the top and ask you the question. How are you paying the $300,000 bare bone minimum for your child? I'm asking that of the fathers and the mothers. I'm asking that of the fathers, the mothers, and their parents. I'm asking that of a body of a community of people that don't have the money and ain't doing the politics. I'm asking that for the baby behind the cookie table that don't know to ask it for himself. And then when he asks it for himself, you done pushed him out the house and he 21 now and you saying to him, you an adult, baby, you got to survive on your own. No, you've been done this up since he was 15. Because what we're actually seeing is that there's an elongated gestation or development period that will probably pull people well into their late 30s, their 40s. And many of y'all gonna have these people at home well into their late 20s, possibly into their 30s. And I don't know what we're doing here. Why leaving the nest is harder the second time after moving back in with their parents during the pandemic. See, how the young adults are struggling to adjust to life on their own, from bills to cost of insurance. They can't pay for nothing. I just wanted to have this discussion and talk about it because there ain't nobody else talking about it. And now it costs $300,000 to raise a kid. Do you have your $300 for each kid? Not one. Thank you.